Okay, so yesterday we talked about sales tax. So today we're going to talk about income tax. Income tax is the percentage deducted from income you earn. It is taken out of your paycheck by your employer. So everybody pays income tax. It's what you file, and it just depends on how much you set it for on how much is going to get taken out. There is a set amount. So there's a couple different types of income tax that gets taken out. There's federal income tax, which is tax collected by the federal government for military and education. There is Medicare, which is your health insurance for people 65 or older or some younger people with disabilities. So the Medicare gets taken out from the time you start working, and then you can access that money later. And then there's the Social Security taxes, which is money set aside for the government to assist people in need. The Social Security is also part of stuff that people pay into as they get older. We talked about this the other day. Teachers don't pay into this. So when you're talking about this, you're talking about, a lot of the time it will come out to what is your net income. So your net income is the money you actually get in your bank account. And that's the gross income minus the income tax. So the money you earned at your job minus the federal income tax, Medicare, Social Security, that is going to be your net income. So that's basically your take home. This is what you take home. Take home. Okay. So let's look at, this is a pay stub. It says the graphic below shows Buddy's income after working at Twisted Treats Bakery during winter break. So if you see, it shows the name, their address, the week, which is important. You want to know what that week is that you got paid for. There's a Social Security number. So the earnings were $450. This is how much he earned at the job. Then it lists all of his taxes that were taken out. So they took out, this is what he earned. They took out this. They took out federal income tax of $52.30. They took out a Social Security of $27.90, and then their Medicare they took out $653. So the net, which was his take home, this is how much he took home. This is what he has to work with. We've been talking about budgets earlier in the week. This is the money you're going to use to budget. You don't use the $450 to budget because they take all of this stuff out. So we go back up here. It said, what is gross income? Well, the gross income here is the money you earned at your job. So how much is the gross income? Well, his gross, if you look right here, it's going to be the $450. This is going to be your gross because that is how much he made. Okay. So how much he brought home, that's how much he made. Then it says how much income tax is deducted. Well, that one's pretty easy because it literally tells you right here what the income tax is. So you're going to add these three numbers together. When I do that, so I have $52.30, $27.90, and then $653. When I add all those together, so his income tax was $86.73 because that is all of these added together. That's going to give you your income tax, okay? And then the last thing on here is how much was the net income. If you go back up here, this tells me I'm using this process right here to find my net income. So it's going to be my gross minus my income tax. So go back. What was my gross? $450. What was my income tax? $86.73. But they already did the math for you on your payroll stuff. Was the best thing about this is that you're not having to do any of the guesswork. It does it for you on pay stubs. It'll tell you exactly what they pulled out. So this amount right here that I circled in red, This is your net income. So the net income is $363.27. Okay. Let me give you a second. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to move on. Okay, so Sally is a manager of Twisted Treats Bakery. She earns an annual salary of $60,000. She's paid twice a month with paychecks of equal amounts. So basically, however much she's making per month, which if you remember from the other day, when we were talking about the nursing jobs, Lydia was making this much in Austin. So how much is this per month? What's going to be that per month? That's a good thing to know because she's going to get paid twice, and those two things are going to make up this. So let's go back here. It says, what is her gross income that Sally will earn on her twice monthly paycheck? So this is just asking how much is she making on one paycheck? Because she's going to get two paychecks, but what is she making on the first paycheck? So we need to figure out how much is she going to make gross per month. Well, there are 12 months in a year, so we are going to divide 12 into $60,000, and this comes out to $5,000 if you remember correctly. So this is how much she's making for the entire month, but she's getting paid twice a month, so this number needs to be divided in half. Well, I know a lot of you already know this, but that is going to come out to $2,500. Okay, so her gross income for her twice monthly paycheck is $2,500. Okay, so that's the gross income. This is before taxes. Then it says here, Sally must pay 1% on Medicare taxes. How much money will be withheld from each paycheck? Well, this is the same thing that you're talking about. This is our part over our whole. Percent out of 100. Now, with it being only 1%, that's pretty easy to figure out. But some people still don't know that. So we're going to do it out. We're going to work it out. So they tell me my 1%. They tell me my gross income. So this is my whole number. I need to know what my part is. What is coming out of this? 1 out of 100. We're going to multiply and then divide. So 2,500 divided by 100 is 25. So how much money is being withheld for Medicare? $25. It's not that bad. Like I said, most of this stuff is stuff we have seen already. And I mentioned that on Monday when we started this unit. And this kind of goes along with what we did yesterday. So we talked about sales tax. A lot of the same thing. The only thing that's different on this is that there's a few more steps. There's a few more things to get added. If Social Security taxes are 6% of gross income, how much will be withheld from the paycheck for Social Security? So now we're looking at 6%. We're going to use this same thing right here. This is going to be used over and over. So go back. Let's do that. What was my part? Or what was my whole? My whole is that 2,500. So that's my whole. Because this is per paycheck. Each means one paycheck. She gets paid twice a month. What is that? Equals, we're looking at 6%. 6 out of 100. There's your bat and ball. 2,500 times 6. 0,030. And this is going to be 15. And then we'll divide that. So 100 into 15,000 is going to be $150. So here's the next one. She will have to also pay $550 in federal income tax for each pay period. How much will Sally's net income be on her next paycheck? So they want to know what the net income is. Remember, I have to, if you go back, we're going to scroll back up here. You go back here. These are the things that they took out of the paycheck. These are all the things they took out right here. Okay? They took those out right here. So it's the gross income, what she made. So what she makes, her net income here. Okay? Then or her gross income, minus the income tax. So that's going to be minus 25, 150, and 550. So we need to add these three numbers together. So I have 550 plus 150 plus 25. This is going to give me how much taxes are being pulled out. So 5, 12, 7. So 725. They want to know how much her net income will be. Well, up here, scroll back up, net income is the gross minus the income tax. We have a gross of 2,500. And I'm going to subtract the income tax, which is 725. And that's going to give me my net income. So she is going to make $1,775 per paycheck. That is her take home. That's what she can use to go plan her budget now. What is Sally's net income for the year? How does this compare to her annual gross salary? So her annual gross salary was this, okay? But they want to know what the net income is. So because she's getting paid on a biweekly basis, she's getting this much, this $1,775 right here. She's getting this twice a month. So the way to figure out what her net income for the year is, you want to take this number and multiply by 2, because this is for one paycheck for the month. She gets 2. So I'm going to do it right here. 1,775 times 2. This is going to give me for 1 month. So she's 3,550. That's for the entire month. They want to know what the net income is for the year. Well, we've talked about this. There are 12 months in a year. So I need to multiply this number by 12. So 3,550 times 12. So this is 0, 0, 6, 12, and 4. So her net income for the year is $42,600. This is her net. All right, net here, okay? So that's her net. How does this compare to her annual? Well, her annual is 60. How does this number compare to that number? The best way you can do this is just subtract. Let's subtract them. So if I make an annual salary of $60,000, but I only bring home this much, this is 471. There's a $17,400. She's paid. Okay, let's write this down. I'm going to write it down here. She pays $17,400 in taxes. And this is just the income tax that comes out of her paycheck. You're going to pay other taxes on other things, goods and services throughout the year. Okay, you are done with notes. There is now a Google form that you need to fill out and you need to turn in. So on the Google Classroom, make sure you click turn in, because I need to have proof that you actually did your notes. And I may take a grade on this. So please, please, please make sure that you click turn in after you fill out that Google form that's connected to this note page. Okay, y'all have a good day. There'll be another one of these tomorrow.